Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to DrupalTutor Live. My name is Wayne Aker. I am a Drupal developer and the trainer at DrupalTutor.com, where you can take online courses from me, whether you're a beginner or if you want to learn advanced module development. There are courses there for all levels. So in this live stream, it's not really a course, but it's just me building out the new version of DrupalTutor.com, which is a fairly sophisticated Drupal 9 website. And so you're just watching me go along and as I build out all the features that I need in order to deliver the courses that I teach at DrupalTutor.com. So this is a little different than the classes. I do always put this disclaimer up here. This is more sort of just me live working on the project versus the courses, which are much more organized and sort of A to Z without missing any steps or getting frustrated like you might see me do in this live stream. But this is a good case study of working on a tough project or a complex, large build like DrupalTutor.com. Okay, so if you, wrong button. If you aren't already subscribed, you should go to DrupalTutor.com/live. On this page, I have all the previous videos in the series. We're on episode 14, I think, today. So you can watch all the previous ones if you're new and just seeing this for the first time. And also, you can input your email address in there and subscribe for updates. I'll send you an email every week to tell you what I'm planning to work on. And so you can decide whether or not you want to tune in live or watch the recording. You'll know what I'm working on that week. All right. So the comment feature is active on YouTube. So if you have any questions as we go through this, feel free to put a comment in there and I'll try to answer it in real time. Okay, so on today's episode, we're going to keep working on the scheduled email system that we've been working on. I think it's been the previous 4 episodes have been working on this. It's a pretty complex system, but we've got it to the point where we can schedule, we have scheduled action rules which define relative dates at which certain actions should happen, such as sending emails. And those relative actions can then be applied onto students' registrations, which have a specific start date. So 10 days after the start date, they can be sent a particular email that's templated in the system using the Easy Email module, which is a contrib module that I wrote, which lets you build email templates, HTML emails in your Drupal user interface and send them out. So, we have it working for sessions. And last week we built like a nicer user interface for that so that you could manage the emails that get sent out from the session page. This week, I want to extend it so that it also works for classes because 99% of the time, I want the same set of emails to go out on the same schedule for every session of a class. Now, currently, the way I do things on DrupalTutor.com is every 2 weeks, there's a session of a course. So if you have something like building websites with Drupal 8 or Drupal 8 and 9 now, which is the intro course, everything's defined sort of as part of the course, all the lessons and everything. But then you can start that course every 2 weeks. And the reason I do that, and so I have a different session for every 2 weeks. The reason I do that is so that I have some control. I do live sessions every week. And so sometimes I want to be able to take a vacation or whatever. And so by scheduling these sessions, I can control when students are actively taking a course. And it's not just whenever you feel like it, in which case people might want help or want live sessions like on Christmas or something. So that's how I do it now. And so I have like a lot of sessions, one every 2 weeks. And so I don't want to have to set up these scheduled actions or these rules for every session. I want to be able to set them on the class and then they just work for all sessions of that class that are active. And so that's what I'm going to work on today. So let's get started. So we did have one thing. There was one thing I got stuck on last week. Let me pull up my screen here. So last week I was working on this user interface for the scheduled action. So this is a session. This is the session page. And then last week we created this scheduled actions tab, and it has rules and actions under here. And the rules tell me all the rules that have been assigned to this session. So like send out this email 202 minutes after the registration starts, send this out 10 days left after the session starts, or after the registration starts. And one thing I wanted to do, so we can edit those all here. Edit and delete works fine. And then one thing we wanted to do was create, so we have this add button. We created that last week, and we did that in a way where we sort of dynamically created it. So in the future, when I have other types of scheduled actions, like creating hosting accounts or deleting hosting accounts, those could also be, those could show up here, like add class email rule, add hosting creation rule, or whatever. There would be more buttons here in the future when I create those. And one thing I wanted to do last week was when you click this, I want the session to pre-fill, because I was on this session page, and so I don't want to have to then find the session again. That seems unnecessary. And so I got stuck on it because I didn't know how to do it off the top of my head. And so I want to show you how to do it, because I did figure it out since last week. So last week we created this code that does the dynamic creation of the local actions. The key thing was this line before was Drupal core menu local action default. That is the default class that handles the action links in the Drupal system. But you can overwrite it. You can override it with your own class or provide your own class instead. And in this case, where you need to dynamically change the link or anything about the action link based on context, like what session am I looking at this user interface for, which is what the context we need, then you can evaluate that if you have your own class and then do that work. So what I did is I created my own new class called local action with entity ID. Well, that's maybe not the best name, but this is because I'm going to do this. I'm going to need this for classes as well as sessions. So that's why I just called it something generic like entity ID. And it extends the local action default. And then I overrode the get options method, because get options is where you're going to have the query string for the link. And so what I do here, first, if local actions default had any options, I get those options. And then I check to see if the route is, if we're on a scheduled actions session tab. That's what I'm doing here by checking the route name equals session scheduled actions, and that I can get the session. I mean, that should the second one should always work, but this basically gives me the session object. Whoops. And assuming that that works, then I add a query variable session with the session ID. And so now that I've done that, when I click this add class emails rule, up here in the the URL, I have a session equals one variable. And so now the only thing I need to do is add something so that it reads that. I need to alter this form so that if it sees the session up there, that it fills it in to the session field. So we can do a form alter for that. So I'll go back to DT course module. And so DT course. So we can use this base form ID alter because we really only want to alter this one form. The base form for all scheduled action rules is scheduled action rule form. And so DT course form, scheduled action rule form, alter this. And so let's just make sure this works by dumping out the form. So we have to clear caches after adding that, or else Drupal won't see our new form alter. You have to do that for any hook implementations. Okay, so here is the form. So we're in the right place. Now, I already did some looking on this. So we have this field session field and then widget 0 target ID. This is the actual text field for the entity autocomplete. And you can see the default value is currently null. So in this case, if I have a session up here, I want to preset that default value. So let's go back here. And so we can get the session ID from the URL by asking the request object. So request object get, and then whatever the variable will be, it's session. And of course, we may not have a session ID. So we need to, because somebody could be doing this form in a different way, editing or whatever. So let's check to see if we actually have a session ID. If we do, let's load the session. Because the default value and what we want to pass to this is the actual session object. All right. And now, again, we should just make sure that that actually loads because somebody could put any ID number in there and maybe it's not even really a session. So, so we'll check to see if the session object actually loaded. And there's a couple of things here. I'm gonna copy this in so I don't mess it up. We also want to check. All right, so there's a couple other things that I want to, conditions I want to check. First, I'm going to make sure that there is a field session in this form. It's possible that there wouldn't be on a different type of scheduled action rule, and so I don't want to put something in there if it doesn't belong. So first, we'll check. This is basically, is there this element? And I also want to check that the default value is currently empty because I don't want to change. If somehow there's a session thing in the URL, but the session's already set, I don't want to change it based on that. I only want this to really work for new items. So I just want to double check the default value is null. Okay, so assuming all that's true, then we want to set the default value. And we can actually, for this type of a field, for an entity reference field, we can set the default value to the entity itself. So, yep, we can do that. And we get rid of our dump. Let's go back and refresh. And notice test session is pre-filled in because I have session 1 up here at the top. We should just check if somebody puts in something invalid like 94. Okay, we don't get any error messages. It just doesn't fill in. So I think that's good. Okay. So that fixes our issue from last week. And now let's go ahead and work on making this so that the scheduled actions can work from the classes and not the sessions individually. So the first thing we're going to need to do is a scheduled action rule is going to need to be able to store a class in addition or as an alternative to a session. So let's go to the configuration, go to scheduled action rule types and class emails. Let's manage the fields. So we have a field, an entity reference for sessions. Let's add another one here for courses. So this will be, sorry, not a dynamic reference, but just a reference to other. And this will be course. And it will be for a course entity, limited to 1. It's not required. Actually, it doesn't make any sense that this could ever go on a bundle. So I'm going to say only single courses. And so let's pull the course up here with the session. And now we should be able to go to scheduled action rules, and let's just create one manually here. 15 days after. Oh, I've got session as a required field. We're going to need to remove the requirement. So let's go back to configuration. Okay, so and let's see, I think I have a test course, and we'll leave session empty, and then there's a test email template. So we can save that. All right, so we have that. Now we need to update. We have code that generates or synchronizes the scheduled actions from the scheduled action rules. So in order to test this, what we should do is maybe create another session. So this is session without any rules configured directly on it. And then let's create a registration for that. And we'll give it a specific start date of like May 1st. Okay, so now we have a one registration for a session which itself does not have any rules assigned to it, scheduled action rules. But it is linked to a class. It is a session of a course that does have a rule on it. So we would expect our generator to, the commands that we have in the background that generate the scheduled actions to generate an email at 15 days out for that new registration. And actually, maybe let me change who the user is just so we can, let's put it on like something different. Yeah, so it's 1006. So we're looking for an email being sent to the 1006 user. That way we can tell that we're not just sending to this guy or something. All right, so let's see. So let's go to the generator and remember the scheduled action generators are, we wrote that as a plugin system And we wrote a registration generator that is currently attached to the class emails. And what it does here is, let's see. Yeah, as it's required, scheduled action generator is required to have an update scheduled actions method based on the rule, and then it does whatever it needs to do. It deletes actions if it needs to. It creates new ones if it needs to. It does whatever. So and it updates them too. It could, like, if the date is changed. So what we do here is we first, I think somewhere here we are finding. Yeah, these are all of the registrations. This results key is an array of all of the registrations that all the registrations that meet the criteria or that should be processed by this rule. And the way we do that is the scheduled action rule. Where do we have it? Yeah, here we're looking at the rule. We're getting its session target ID. That's the session ID. Then we're looking for all the registrations that are assigned to that session ID that are pending or active. And so we need to, actually, this is fine. We can leave this. I'll just put a note here. These are scheduled. These are registration. Let's see, for scheduled. Sorry, this is rule linked to a session. That's what this is. So now it's going to be possible at this point that session ID is empty. But if it's not empty, then that's when we want to do this. And that's rule is linked to a session. Now the alternative is, and let's just copy this and then is for field course, there could be a course ID. One or the other. There should be one or the other. So if the course ID, then this is rule linked to a course, then we need to do a little more work here. So the condition is actually, for the most part, this can stay the same. The condition is session dot entity. Oh wait, no, sorry. It's we're looking for yes. We're looking for registrations. Registrations have a field called session, but the sessions have a field called course, I think, that link them to their course. Let me double check that. If we look under base fields, yeah, they have a course, which is an entity reference. So we can do session dot course. I always forget how to do these join things. I thought we did one. We did one earlier in this, but I don't remember where. Session dot course entity core. I thought it's like, I'm gonna have to look it up. See if I can find it in. Yeah, here it is. Okay, it is the field dot entity and then the entity type and then dot the other field. Okay. So I have this backwards. Session entity, which is a session type entity. The session type entity has a course field on it, and that should be the course ID. So this should give me all registrations with the course that are to a session that is to this course. All right. So now what I really want to do is sort of combine these. I mean, maybe there would be a rule that had both. I don't think there should be, but so let's say registration IDs. As an array. And then here for the results, let's I think we can just array merge these results. And then do the same thing down here. And let's just dump out our registration IDs and the rule ID. And maybe we'll have it just do that for now. Let's just so we can see if this is getting the right data. So what is our drush command? Oh, we have it queuing the rules. Yeah, that's okay. So it's drush scheduled actions, queue rules. What is the drush command for running the queue? I can't remember. Drush queue run and then a specific queue name. So maybe we can do something like drush scheduled actions queue rules. Drush queue run, and then what is this drush queue is called? Scheduled action rule processor. This will queue the rules and then run the queue. Okay. So we got three sets of results, and I think that's right because we have 3 rules, right? Let's go here. Yeah, we have 3 rules, so that makes sense. The one we just added with the class is rule number 3. Sorry, for the course. So we'll ignore the first 2 because we haven't changed that. But this one, we got 1, 2, 3. Actually, that is not what I expected. Maybe we don't want to array merge. Maybe we want to add them together because we're getting sort of the regular index IDs. This query actually returns the registration ID as a key and a value. So maybe what I want is just to like add this onto the array. Okay, this is what I was expecting. So basically we have 1, 1, 2, 2, and then 1, 2, 3. That's what I expected, where the keys should match that. That way we don't get any duplicates. Because the keys are the IDs. Okay, so we have the right set of rules, or of registrations. One thing is we don't really need this relative date is the same, so that doesn't actually need to be in each of these sections. And also registration storage, this is the same. Let's just pull that out here. And then we can use that in both and simplify down the code here. All right, so we have the correct registration IDs. So now what we want to do is here, we just want to, instead of the results, we'll go over the registration IDs. And I think actually, because everything is based on the registration start date, I think all of this other, as long as we have the correct registrations, it should work. Just scrolling through to see if there's anything else that could be wrong. What about deleting? Or wait, actually, hold on. So we're getting the registrations that we need. We're getting the rule ID and the registration are the key, are the ID and key for the scheduled action. That is okay. Yeah, I think this is good. So let's run it and see. So before we run it, let's look at the scheduled actions. So we have 2 of them currently set up. This one is completed. It was to DT admin. This one is pending. It's to user 100. Okay. So we created a lot of new ones. Don't know if that's right or not. Let's see what we ended up getting here. I think we ended up with some additional, that's right. We ended up with some additional rules on that other session. We created 2 rules, and I think it's creating, that's what some of these others are. Like this one is probably the 202 minutes or whatever after the start. And this one is probably the same thing for the other user. Okay, this one right here is 15 days. Yeah, rule ID 3, that's the one we're looking for. So this is 15 days after the start date. Why is the recipient user DT admin? Let's look at the registrations. So all 3 registrations are for this course, so they all meet the criteria. The start date is 3/31 for this person's registration. So that seems like 16 days, but let's see what these other ones are. Okay, user 100. Let's see, where was I? User 100 starts on the 10th. So theirs is the 25th. That is correct. And then the one that I just created for user 1006 should be this one. And it's on the 16th. Why did I say 15? I thought I said 15 days after. But yeah, we might have some sort of time zone thing going on. I'm not totally sure why. I think that should be should be 5:15, but I guess it's 15 days after, and I said it was the 1st. So 15 days after the 1st is the 16th, because that, yeah, that's right. If you go 15 24-hour periods, that will be. So it's correct. It's correct. Okay, hold on one second. I thought I had this problem last week. My disk storage is about to run out, so give me one second. to delete something. Apologize for this. Should have checked it ahead of time. Okay, should have plenty of space now because it's saving this recording as we go. So it's filling up the hard drive. All right. So that's working. I think this is working correctly. We created, we created these based on the rule, because there's the rule for this one that this user didn't have any, was linked to a session that didn't have its own rules, and he got only this one. The other users got all of them because they're in a session that has both class rules and session rules. So they got the combination of both of them, which is why they ended up with multiple ones. But I think that's correct. That's what I expected. Yeah, so that's working. Okay, so next what I'd like to do is add the user interface to the course page. So just like I have with sessions, when I go to a particular session, I can go to the Scheduled Actions tab. I want to be able to do that for courses as well. So if I go, for example, to the test course, there's no Scheduled Actions tab now. So let's add one. So we did this last week, so it should be fairly easy to copy much of the stuff that we created last week. So we created a Scheduled Actions route. Actually, we created both of these because we have two routes here. We have the one for the rules and one for the actions. So let's just do both of these. So we'll copy both of these down again, and we'll change this to course scheduled actions. I think we can pretty much just go through all of the same, just replacing course session with course. And again, we'll say anybody who can update a course can update the rules related to that course. All right, so now we need to create these methods in the scheduled action controller. So again, I'll just copy, let's see, we've got both of these here. So I'll just copy and paste them, and then we'll update them to work with courses. So we'll rename them first. This should be course scheduled actions, and it expects a course interface course. Course scheduled action rules, course interface course. And let's start with the rules. So let's see what we need to change about this. All right, so we should try to pull some of this out because there's not a lot that it's actually different between this and what we were doing with the session. So let's let's pull this out, all of this code. And we'll make a method here. Build rule list. Oh, wait, function. Build rule listing page. And what it's going to take is an array of the rule properties. So then I'll paste this in here. It's going to return the build array at the end. Now, the thing that is, these properties should be used to build the query, because that's really all that's different. So instead of having a condition here, we'll just start with query. And then for each rule properties as field value query condition field value. And we'll assume right now that it just has to equal. I won't worry about the operator. We don't really need that here. So, and then we'll need results equal query execute. Then we can get rid of that. And what I need here, then if I go back to my course one, I should be able to say build equals this, build rule listing page, and its field course should be course ID. That's the property that I'm looking for. And then I shouldn't need any of this. In fact, I can even condense this further by just return build course listing page, field course, course ID. So let's see if that works. And let's see, we don't have the tabs yet, but that's okay. Let's just go to, should be scheduled actions. All right, and here it is. So it does load up. We had one rule for this course. We can see that here it is. It's linked to this course. And so I think that's working. Okay, so let's make the list of actions work. So that was the other one. Oh, so maybe I need to, what did I call this? Build rule listing page. Yeah, that's fine. So now what I want is build action listing page. And we'll do the same thing. Because I think, let's just look, I think that this can work the same. Yeah, I mean, we'll have to pass in like something like this for the property, but that's fine. So let's copy this code out, put it into here. And then we need to make the same change we just made a minute ago. This will be this query. And then for each action properties as field value. Okay. And then this thing should return the build array at the end. And now we can replace this with build action listing page. And this is where we need our filters. This is going to be course. Oh, but actually this is the wrong filter. So rule ID entity, schedule action rule. We're looking at field course in this case. Should link to the course ID. And then we should be able to get rid of all of this. And of course, then we don't even really need to have the build method there. So let's just clear caches. And now I should be able to, what was the, I think it's /actions or something. Yeah, /actions. Oh wait, /actions plural. All right, so here there should be 3 of them. Good. All right, I think that's correct. These are the correct 3. So let's go ahead and reuse that same code. So we had that up here for these session ones. We should fix this so that we don't have the same code repeated. This is the rules, build rule listing page. The properties is field session, session ID. Then we get rid of all of this. And again, we can inline that. So this code's getting pretty neat and tidy. We'll do the same thing up here. This is the action listing page. This has to equal session ID. And then we can get rid of all this. And we can inline it. Oh, how come PHP Storm is not telling me to? Oh, because I don't have a. And we can inline it. Okay, so now we have the code. Each of those sort of build arrays just once, but we use it for both the courses and the rules. So let's clear caches and make sure that we didn't break anything. If I go back to a session, such as the test session, the scheduled actions tab should still work. And they do. All right, so that's good. What we should do now is add the tabs to the course page. So let's go to the DT course links task YAML file. And these 3 are what create the main tab and the 2 sub tabs. We want that same thing for courses. So we can just sort of copy that same approach. Course. And this goes on entity course, canonical course. Oh, wait, the route name is course scheduled actions. Okay, and the fact that the route and the parent are the same, or sorry, that the name up here and the parent actually links to the link ID. That makes this the default tab. All right. Okay, we'll refresh that. And let's go back to, I need to pull up a course. And now we have a scheduled actions tab. And so there's the rules. There's the actions. That looks good. Next, I want to create that same button, the action link, to add new items, new emails or whatever to this course. So again, we can just go in. We did that dynamically here in DT course menu local actions alter. And we did that because we wanted to programmatically loop through and make as many buttons as there were scheduled rule types. So let's see this. So I think this is fine. We just need to create another one that's almost exactly the same, only the ID would just be course. The route name is still the add form, but it appears, oh no, actually we don't need to do that. We just need to increase where we need another appears on. So like course scheduled actions. I think that should work. Okay, it's here. And this is the course. Let me just see, what did it do? Okay, so it didn't add any sort of session variable, but that's to be expected. We're not on a session page, so it wouldn't have had any way to do that. So let's go into our custom local action class. So here we checked the route name. So we need to do the same thing for courses. So if the route name is course scheduled actions, then the course, get parameter course, and we'll pass the course ID. So let's refresh this page. Click to add. And now it does have course equals 1 up here. So the only thing, but it's not pre-filling into the form. So let's have it pre-fill into the form by going back to that form alter that we wrote before. And again, we can just basically do the same thing, but change everything to course. And actually, if we want to be really cool about it, I guess we could, let's see. So we could do something like this, because it's going to be exactly the same for both of these. So basically we're saying we want to match session to field session, course to field course. And so now we can do this dynamically. So for each variables as URL variable, form variable, then we want to do this thing, but let's do it in a more generic way. Entity ID equals URL variable if the entity ID exists. Now, in this case, we're going to have to assume, or we will assume, that the URL variable also is the same as the entity type, but it is, so it's fine. So load the entity ID, that makes this the entity. So if the entity is an empty, And here we need the form variable, or form field, I guess, but not really. It's not really a variable, I guess. It's really form field. Okay, I think that sort of is a more generic thing that should work for both. So then I can delete this other code. And let's see if this works. Okay, so it did fill in test course. Let's go make sure that I didn't break the other one. Do I still have, yeah, here is a session. Let's click, and it does fill in the session. So yeah, so that works for both courses and sessions. So that's good. All right, so there's one last thing I want to do, which is if I'm looking at this test session, it tells me that there is an email that goes at 202 minutes and one that goes at 10 days. But that's actually not the totality of this, because this is also where's my course? Here we go. So there's also another one that goes out at 15 days, but I can't see that from here. I would have to go look at the course to see it, and I don't want to do that. I want to be able to see everything. So in one spot. So let's extend this user interface so that if we're looking at the session, that we also get the ones for the course. All right, so, and we only have to do that. Do we only have to do that for the? Yeah, I think we only have to do that for the rules. Let me just double check. How are we checking the actions? The query is that we're querying for all the actions which have, oh no, we are going to have to do something a little bit more complex here. Okay, so we're going to have to change this up a little bit from what I did a minute ago. So because we really want like all the actions that either meet this criteria or meet this criteria up here. It could be either of them on the session page. So maybe what we'll do, since we only had one property before, we could OR the properties together. I think that would be okay. I mean, this isn't code we're going to reuse anywhere else. So like, for example, we could have this as a second property. Oh, we don't have oh yeah, we do have a course here, because we can say session get course Actually, I think we can just say target ID. And that'll give us the course ID from the session. And then we would do the same thing here for the rules. And we'll OR it together, field course. So now let's make this work so that it's an OR, that one or the other is true. So where is our query? So let's start with rules. Build rule listing page. So here we have the conditions. So in order to do an or condition, we need or equals query or condition group. Then we add the conditions onto the or condition group instead of to the query directly. And then we add the or condition group as a condition. So if I come back to the session and look at these rules, hey, now all three of them are here. Okay, this one. Now, the one thing is, and you can see these are linked to the session, and this one's linked to the course. So it's working. Now, the thing is, I don't really want to edit ones that are linked to the course right here, because like this is linked to a lot of other, that sort of tempts me to do something that might mess up other sessions. So I think I can edit these, but if something is coming through from the course, I shouldn't be able to edit it here on the session, because that's, like I said, that tempts fate that I'm going to screw something up I'm not intending. So we should change this up so that I don't have an edit button. And maybe it just has a message like edit on course. Maybe it has a link. Oh, maybe it could even have a link over to the course. That'd be great. Okay. So let's go in here where we figure that out. Okay, so we have these operations links here. I need to figure out if the rule is linking to a session. And let's see, I also need to know whether or not which type of thing I'm on, because I do want the edit links to show up if I'm on the course page. So maybe what we need is a course rules editable equals true, like a new parameter here. And then in here, if the course rules are not editable, and I'm going to assume that there's only ever going to be a course or a session linked to a rule, that you're not going to have both. So if I have a course linked to this rule, then that's it. Then there shouldn't be a session. So then, and not rule get field course is empty. So that means course rules are not editable, and this, oh wait, no, it is, sorry, no, this should be field session. So that means I'm linked to a session and the course rules are not editable. Oh wait, no, sorry, I had this right before. Field course. This is a course rule and course rules are not editable. Then I'll do one thing. And the other thing I'll do, if that's not true, then I'll print out the operations links. So in the case where in the case where where the course rules are not editable and I'm linked to a course, I'm going to print out, let's just start with a message and then we'll do a link in a second. Edit this on the course page. And now for the one that's scheduled session, scheduled action rules. Actually, I think they made the default false, right? So it should just work actually. Nope. let's see. Oh no, I made the default true. Okay, so so then I need to pass false to this because in the case for session scheduled action rules, I don't want the course's rules to be editable. Okay, so it did something, but not what it didn't. I don't have my message. Let's see, but it didn't print the link, so that's something. I thought you could do plain text there, but oh, actually no, this is in a table. So if it's a render array, you actually have to render it. So I don't really need a render array. Let's just return string. Yeah, so then I just have a message that tells me to edit this on the course page. And so, okay. So now if I look at the course though, it's probably, oh no, it should work on the course. Let's see. So here I am under the course and I do have an edit button for this same role. Okay. So for actions, wait, it seems like I broke the action somehow. This one looks good, but actually the actions for test session, there should still be some actions, right? Let's go to my session without rules. This one I know should have some. Okay, so I broke that. Let's check that real quick. So sessions, scheduled actions. Oh, I haven't done the or condition here. I only did it on the other one. Okay, so I got to do that same or condition thing here. So just add it to the or condition and query condition or. Now it should work. Yeah, there. Okay, so that's good. And it's not editable here. Now let's make that a link. Let's make it link directly to here. So instead of this text, we are going to create a link, Drupal core link, create from route the text. And I think you don't have to use the T function on the link. Edit this on the course page. The route name. Just make these on different lines so they're easy to read. The route name for this is course scheduled actions. And the route parameters are course, and that's going to be rule get field course target ID. Okay, now that will create a link, but that's going to create like a link object, and because this is inside of a table, I think we need to like to string it or something because the table doesn't automatically handle those things like twig would or something. If you were just taking this to straight to twig, it would work fine. You could pass the link object and it would be fine. So let's go here. So then edit this on the course page. When I link over here, this does link me to the course page where I can see that. So yeah, I think that is, so let's go back to that one that had both. Was this one. All right, so that looks good. Okay, so one last thing that I will do, because we have a little bit more time, I mean, within the normal time that we do, is I am noticing, because it's kind of getting frustrating to me, like it would be nice if scheduled actions was like available right here, and it's not. So I'm having to click edit and then click over to it. So if you want to add your own operations link, it's really easy, though it's in a really weird spot, but it's really easy. So you have to go to the list builder for that entity type. So we defined both the course and the session entity types. So we should have the list builders. So if you go to like session, list builder interface, I think that you can override build operations. And I don't remember the exact syntax of these operations links, but basically you can add your own links here. But let's just dump them out because I don't remember exactly the syntax. So if I do this here, oh, it's not building it out. Oh, maybe it's not build. Is there another operations? Maybe I'm overwriting the wrong one. Let me see. Okay, there's get operations. I thought it was like, oh yeah, maybe get default operations. Let me just look here. Yeah, this is what I want. So, and it looks like I'm just going to copy one of these down. Actually, we have the same permissions that we wanted to check if you can update this thing. So I'll copy that. Let's operations equals whatever the parent gave us. And then we'll add our own. Where did it get that? On the entities there. Okay, so if we have access to update it, we don't care about the edit form. Then we want scheduled actions. And I would like it to have a higher weight than edit. Okay, and then the URL should be yeah, and actually I don't think I want this ensure destination because when you go to that page, if you edit things, you don't want it to end up back at the total listing page. So what we want here is like URL from route. And the route in this case is session scheduled actions. And we need the route parameters, session, which is the entity ID. All right, I think that should be enough to create the new action link, at least for sessions. Then we'll do the same thing for our course. All right, so I'm going to refresh. If I click under here, you see I now have scheduled actions. I can click, it takes me right to the scheduled actions tab for that particular session. Yep, so that's working good. So let's do the same thing for courses, and then we will wrap it up. So I'm just going to copy this. We will go to the course list builder, paste it in, and the only thing we need to change is this is course and course. And now if I go to the course listing, we now have scheduled actions there as a possibility. And the nice thing, again, that works anywhere. So like if you had a view or anything else where you were listing those and you had these operations buttons, scheduled actions is now available. Assuming that you have access to edit that particular entity. Okay, so yep, so we have this working with courses now in addition to sessions. And so I think we can leave it there for today. The only thing, the only major thing that I want to add to this, which I might do next episode, is I would like the ability, currently this, if you're on like a session, like for example, this one that had the first one, which had its own direct emails as well as the ones that came from the course. Like, what if I want to totally override them? So the ones from the course, I mean, I like this. I like that you could merge them together because maybe you just have like one extra email you want to send. That's fine. But like, so what if you have a course and you really don't want the ones from the course, or sorry, you have a session and you don't want the ones from the course to flow through to it because it's like a totally custom course, you know, like a private course or something where you want different messaging. I would like to be able to disable that flow through on a session by session basis, like a way to say override, like don't inherit the rules from the course, at least for emails or something like that. And so that is something I will work on in the next episode. I don't know if the next episode will be next week or not. I have some contractors who will be working at my house over the next 2 to 3 weeks. So it'll be sort of a week by week basis if I'm able to do these live streams, because there may be a lot of banging, hammer banging, or large machinery outside of my window, and it may not be conducive to doing these live streams. So if you are subscribed on email, I will send an email to let you know if I need to move the day or if we have to skip a week. But even if we skip the next 2 weeks, we will continue on this and continue building the next DrupalTutor.com. Okay, so again, I'm Wayne Aker, Drupal developer. Thanks for watching. And remember that if you are not currently subscribed, you can go to DrupalTutor.com/live to get those emails about what or whether we're going to be doing these live streams each week. So thanks.